There's a story that's told in the Torah about the Mishkan and carrying the Aron through the desert. And it's so detailed. It tells you how the Jews walked through the desert. So they walked through and there was 600,000 people, the men, plus the women and children. And they walked through, they had a Mishkan, which is a tabernacle, a home for Hashem. And we get an exact description of how they carry the Mishkan through the desert. And we are told there are 3 families, all belonging to the tribe of Levi, and they carry the Aron. So Merari carries the beams, Gershon carries the tapestries, the curtains, the covers, and Kehas carries the actual vessels, the Aron, the ark, and the shulchan, the table, and the menorah. All that is carried by Kehas. And the mission is as follows. In life, you are going to encounter a desert. What's a desert? It's a huge, giant, impossible, difficult terrain. The Torah tells us that the Midbar is called HaMidbar HaGodol VeHaNoira. It was the great, awesome, challenging desert. Nochosh, Sorof, Ve'akrav. It had snakes and scorpions and serpents. V'tzimo'in asher ein moim, and a thirst with no water. And your mission is to walk through that desert. When we read the story of the Jews walking through the desert, it's actually a very sad reality. The reason they went through the desert was because they messed up. That's why. Because they were supposed to get into Eretz Yisrael right away in 3 days, actually. The reason they didn't was because they sinned, and the spies were sent into the land of Canaan, and they came back and they had a negative report to tell. As a result, 40 days they were in the land of Israel. They came back, it was 40 years in the desert. So when you want to know why there were 40 years, that's because there was a mess up. Here's the story. There's no such thing as a mess up. Whenever you mess up in life, every mess up is divinely ordained. So in your life, you'll see that you're going to encounter a desert. The desert's going to be impossible terrain. You should know that it's all orchestrated by Hashem. And there's a purpose in this. What's the goal? Very simple. Hashem wants His name to be known throughout the world. So what He did was, He created a reality, it's almost like a virtual reality, where you don't notice Hashem. And the goal is to discover Hashem in that reality. Here's how it works. In every single thing you see, there is an external expression, and then there is the inside of it. Externally, it looks negative. If you uncover, just take out the facade of anything that goes on in the world, you'll discover Hashem. You'll discover God right inside it. The goal of going through the desert is to be able to encounter all the impossible situations and find Hashem in every little detail. That's why in the desert, the story is that it says, every time we open the ark, we say this. When we open up the ark, we say it's in our parasha, Kumo Hashem v'yafutzu oivecha. Carry the ark, Hashem, let your enemies disperse. V'yanusu mesanecha mipanecha. All those who hate you will disappear. Uvenucha yema. When we put it down, you say, Shuvu Hashem revois alfei Yisrael. Hashem, return to us. The snakes and scorpions were all destroyed because the Jews were covered over by a cloud of glory. Weather inside was perfect. Their clothes were ironed. They had everything they needed. The mountains were flattened. The valleys were raised. So the terrain was perfect to walk on. And all the enemies, including the snakes, scorpions, and serpents, and the physical enemies, would all be destroyed. When Amalek attacked the Jews, he was only able to attack those who were outside the cloud. If you were inside the cloud, there was no issue. So we want to walk through the desert in almost like completely enveloped in Hashem's beautiful light and be able to encounter all the snakes and scorpions and overcome them. In the desert, they walk through 42 journeys. In life, you walk through 42 journeys. The Baal Shem Tov explains, if you divide your life up, it doesn't say how, but if you divide your life up, you'll see There's the beginning, the middle, all the different stages of your life. 42 stages of your life. What's the goal of everything? The goal is to bring Hashem into the desert. So why are we doing this? Because Hashem wants the desert to become a divine space. He wants you to find divine reality everywhere. And we're doing it by walking through the desert with the Shekhinah. How do you build a Mishkan today? So the Torah tells us, Ve'asuli mikdash ve'shochanti besoicham. You'll make for me a holy sanctuary, and then I'll dwell in them. The word in them is a little bit difficult to understand. Because what you intended to say was ve'shochanti betocho. What does it mean betocham? So Hashem says, you are the Mishkan. So when you go through life, you're going to encounter a desert. The desert is the hardships, challenges, and difficulties of life. They are real, and they are sometimes murderous. And you want to walk through all the challenges, and you want to bring your Aron HaKodesh, your Ark, and your Mishkan right in front of them. What do you think it means to build a Mishkan? What does it mean to build the Aron HaKodesh? What it means is, the Aron is a place whereby you saw Hashem's presence. Because in the Luchos, in the Aron were both Luchos, right, the first and the second. But in the tablets, what did it say? It said in the tablets, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God. And whichever direction you looked at it, from this side or that side, you could read the same thing. In other words, there was no back and forward. Wherever you were, whatever you looked at, you just saw, I am Hashem your God. You saw Hashem everywhere. The Aron, which was in the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies, was the most intimate spot. The Kodesh HaKodashim is called, in the Pasuk by Shlomo HaMelech, he says, in Shir HaShirim, in Song of Songs, Chadar HaMitot, the bedroom. Because it's the most sacred, intimate space between us and Hashem. The bedroom. So what happens in that space is that it's intimacy. It's Hashem is completely, totally, utterly revealed in that spot. That's the Aron HaKodesh. Inside your being, you have a heart. The heart is your Aron. And the Torah tells us, that in Tehillim it says, Mi ya'aleh behar Hashem, who can rise in the mountain of Hashem? Neki chapayim, someone who's clean of hands, and ubar levov. Bar levov means that he has clarity and a pure heart. So what does it mean to have a pure heart? It means that you're not affected in any way by the desert and the outside world. To have an impure heart means that when somebody says something to you and you feel stress, you become stressed. And if you feel tension, you become tense. So something happens on the outside and it walks, the energy enters and permeates me, and I receive the energy and I respond to the energy of the external stimuli. That's what it means to have a heart that is impure. It's being affected by the outside world. The definition of a pure heart is that I am totally and utterly relaxed. You ever seen a person who's relaxed? A person who, no matter how tense things are on the outside, he exuberates a full-fledged sense of calmness. That kind of calmness is intoxicating. When you have someone who you see is always calm, tries to be calm, you gravitate towards that person. It's exciting. Wow. To get to that space is hard work. King David, in Tehillim also, he asks Hashem for help getting to that space. In Tehillim Nun Aleph 51, he says, Hashem, please, Lev Tahor Berali Elokim. Hashem, please create for me a pure heart. On my own, I don't know how to do this. I'm affected by the outside world. I don't know. Hashem, please help me. What we're going to learn today is the process of how to encounter a desert in your life with a pure heart. That means how to walk straight into the most tense spots where the Torah itself will tell you that it's a desert. It's impossible to overcome. It's snakes, scorpions, and serpents. Midbar HaGadol ve'Hanora. This awesome, scary desert. And you're going to walk right in with your Mishkan, with your tabernacle, with your home of Hashem, and all the problems are going to just disappear. And then once they've disappeared, what do? You dismantle the whole Mishkan, and you go to the next spot, and you encounter the next journey, and you put it down again there, and you erect your home of Hashem right there. And then everything's going fine, and then what do? Again. And that's how life is. Life is basically, if you're ever expecting to rest and to be at peace, good luck, you never get to be at peace. The definition of peace is I always need to do the work. I always need to build the connection to Hashem. But I'm always in His space. I'm always in His presence. So I don't need to have relaxation to be relaxed. The whole world around me could be going crazy, and I'm relaxed all the time. And then when things go crazy again, I relax again. This is the art of learning how to be fully present, fully calm, relaxed, in the middle of the greatest tension, and to keep on walking right into the tension and accomplishing further and further and further. What would it like if you could be a mom whose kids can come and they all, they're struggling and suffering and having all the issues, and you just stand there and you're just present for them, and you're just completely all the time. You're a beacon of strength and a pillar of light. Imagine that. That's how we're going to learn how to do it. In order to do this, 3 steps. It's 3 simple steps you got to take. I mean, they're simple to say. A little more challenging to do. How do I get to a space of being able to carry the Mishkan through the desert, to carry Hashem, and to have an aron, which is a sense of absolute calmness in the middle of the tension? The answer is, the Torah tells us you have to carry the Mishkan through the desert. The carrying of the Mishkan is done in 3 steps. I'm going to tell you the 3 steps, and then we're going to discuss how they operate, okay? Step 1 is you have to build yourself you have to carve out a space of self-care, of calmness. I have to carve out for myself a space of calmness in the middle of the tension. So the first order of the day is to find a space where I can just rest. Step 2, or part of step 1, is to let go. So how do we do that? It means, you know how, you ever gone to buy, like a life insurance salesman comes into you and he wants to sell life insurance, or you go buy a car, you want to get a new car. You know what salesmen are taught to do? They are taught to enter into your life and to convince you to buy something that you don't necessarily want to buy. Here's the problem. You want to buy a car. Sometimes you don't want to buy it. That's even a bigger problem. I want to buy this car, but I don't know if it's the right car for me or not. How do I find out? Well, a salesman has to be smart. The old technique of a salesman is he'll come inside and he'll say, where are you guys from? I hear an accent. Oh, Russian accent. Oh, you're from, Odessa, Ukraine. Yeah. Okay. I have an uncle who's from there. I once went to visit him. I was in Odessa. What a beautiful city. Yeah. Where are you from? Like that area. You see what he's doing? He's building rapport with you. And slowly but surely, you don't even realize it. You like the guy. Or a little slightly more advanced technique is the salesman comes in and he says to you, okay, tell me, I'm not here to sell you anything. I want to know, what do you want? What's your goal? Tell me, what do you like? What do you want? What do you want to achieve? And then somehow, it's amazing, whatever you want, he has to offer. Exactly what you wanted. Well, it's amazing, because that is exactly what we have going on. It's like such a shgacha pratis. Wow. So how do you overcome that? It's very simple. You want to carve out a space for yourself of calmness and relaxation. And every time, what you want to notice is what just took place in my heart. When he said, I'm also from Odessa, I just felt a sense of love and warmth. I'm not sure that's a real one. I just felt the connection. And when she asked me, what do I want to achieve? I felt validated. Just notice on yourself whatever that feeling was. More often than not, the feeling in life is going to be a negative feeling. And then you're going to look at yourself and say, okay, I'm feeling tense. Good. Am I tense? And you'll discover, no. Once I get that feeling, I get, that's what you're trying to do to me. You're trying to encroach on my territory, and I'm not letting you in. What am I doing? I'm letting go. That's my first step. The second step is, I need to encapsulate myself in light. Once I've built a little space, that space needs to be an absolutely happy space. It needs to be a space of light. We had a stump the rabbi here in Yom Tov. So one of the young ladies wanted to know, is there a shidduch crisis nowadays? It's an interesting question. I was trying to understand what's the point of the question. What are you gaining by saying there's a crisis? Sounds to me like by saying there's a crisis, what you're gaining is making it impossible. And what you're trying to do is basically say that, there's a crisis, it's really bad, and so we can't get married, and so now I'm going to freak out. So what you're trying to do is get some tension going on. What you want to do is build yourself a home, carve out your space for you. Stressless. Maybe there is a crisis, maybe, but you just need a shidduch. Who cares about the crisis right now when you want a shidduch? So what you want to do is carve out a calm space for you. But the second part of carving out a calm space is living in a reality of Hashem is taking care of me. So I want to feel this absolute joy and light of Hashem took care of me and gave me whatever I wanted. That's called being enveloped by the light of God. Once you have that, now you walk right back out into the tension and you face it directly. So step one, build yourself carve out a space for yourself. Step two, fill up that space with light. Step three, take the light and reveal it in the world. We're going to give names to each of those steps. The first one is called Merari. The second one is called Gershon. And the third one is called Kehos. And they are the three sons of Levi. What does Levi mean? Levi's mother named them such because Levi means connection. Hapam yilaveh ishi elai. I want to feel connected. If I do Merari, Gershon, and Kehos, I feel Levi. I get Levi. What's Levi? Levi is the one who carries the Aron. Now we want to take a look at what each one of those families did. Merari, we are told, carried the beams. Merari carried the parameter of the Mishkan around. So they carried the beams and all the heavy cover, the heavy, the Mishkan of the Chotzer, everything, that's what they carried. Gershon, what do they carry? On top of the beams, they put covers. So those covers are made actually of 6 species. And those covers were carried by Gershon. And once you got all that done, Kehos comes in. Kehos carries on his shoulders actually, unlike Gershon and Merari who carry on the wagons. And Kehos comes in and takes care of the Aron and the Menorah and the Shulchan, all the Kelim of the Mishka. And now what we're going to do is, we're going to walk right through the desert. So at the epicenter of the Jewish people are the Levim, who are holding the Aron on their shoulders. And they have to be facing the Aron, right? They're walking backwards. and they're carrying the Or on their shoulders. Because they're doing this, everything's perfect. All the enemies are flattened. No more snakes, no more serpents, no more scorpions. Why is the Torah telling us all the details of how to do it? In order that we should be able to accomplish it ourselves. So let's see the process. The names of those families, the name expresses how you do it. Merari means bitterness. Gershon means legaresh, to kick out. Kehos means yikhatamim, to gather. It's bitterness, kicking him out, and putting everything together. Step 1, Merari. Merari means bitterness. Bitterness is the core of whatever you feel when something from the external world, external stimuli, attack you. And we make a colossal mistake. Because when I go out and I'm trying to make a sale myself, and I get a no, and I get a door slammed in my face. So what happens? I feel hurt. I feel attacked. So now what do? Now I'm like, okay, I give up. I'm not doing this anymore. Well, Gershon gone wrong. I make a choice, right? Or I'm doing something, I can't do it, and I'm like, okay. I remember the first time I was a young bacher, and we went out to Nebraska, and our first stop, we went all across the whole state of Nebraska, Jew hunting, and we discovered that there was a 99% rate of assimilation in Nebraska. And besides the big cities, not in Omaha. We didn't do Omaha. We went around in Lincoln, Nebraska, the first stop we had. So the first guy, we arrived in, and we were two young guys, and we found the guy was Jewish, and we came inside and we knocked on his door. This is before the days of internet and before the days of cell phones. So we knocked on his door. The guy sees us there. He opens the door. He says, "Hi," and we started to say, "We're two rabbis, and we heard you're Jewish." Before we could say much, the guy just slammed the door in our faces. And then he opened it up, the little, the latch, so we couldn't get in. And he said to us, "I don't accept any kind of missionaries, not Mormons, and not anybody else. Go to blank." That's what he said to us. I have to tell you that it was one of my first encounters, and I was deeply hurt. I'm like, so we're not missionarying because we're not trying to convert anyone. We just want to go to you because you're Jewish. He didn't care much. It was just like, get out. Now, the net result of that could be if you take him too seriously, what do? You recoil in horror. But if you decide to no, well, that was a bitter feeling. That was harsh. Okay, now what am I going to do? I had a bitter feeling. Now I'm going to respond accordingly. So I'm going to take the bitterness and I'm going to transform the bitter. I'm going to feel. What did I just feel? I just felt disrespected. I felt crushed. That's what I felt. My heart feels that sense of crushing. What am I going to do now? Let it go. It's not my fault. Don't worry. 10 minutes later, we were at the next door. You move on. That's what it is. In fact, parenthetically, a friend of mine in South Africa, Rabbi Shishla, once had this little episode whereby he went to Plettenberg Bay, and that's like a resort. And he goes into the resort, and he meets a guy. And the guy comes over to him and says, "Oh, you're a rabbi?" Whatever. He says, "Yeah." He says, "I'm going to tell you a story." He says, 6 years ago, I live in a place, I forget which city exactly, but somewhere near there, East London or something, in the middle of nowhere. And he says, these two rabbis came to my door. And they came inside, we had a discussion, and it was very nice. We spoke for a few minutes. And then they asked me if I want to put on tefillin. And I don't know why, but I was so triggered that like, you're coming to me to tell me what to put on tefillin? I kicked the guys out. I was so mad at them. And he says, and that was it. He says, and then afterwards, when they left, I felt so bad. I was like, what did you do? What are you doing? And I was wondering, how do I find these guys? Whatever. I felt bad. He says, you know something? I took out my tefillin, I got it checked, and I made a decision that in order to atone for what I just did, I started to put on tefillin every single day. For the past 6 years, I haven't missed a day of putting on tefillin as a result of them. I wish they would know about it because they probably feel like nothing worked and whatever. He's like, you know. So my friend over there looks at him and he says to him, I know that story very well. He says, I was the guy. We were classmates. There were 7 of us in the class. That was the episode over there. In other words, you're not running Hashem's world. It feels bitter right now. Okay, accept the bitterness and then get into a present space, carve out a space, let God run his world, let it go. That's Merari. That's what it means. They carry the beams and they build the beams of the Mishka, put it together. Now, if I have a space where I'm calm inside over here, so, okay, now what? It's not good enough to be calm. What I need to be is light. I need to be in a space of absolute excitement. So if you try to hurt me, or something happened in the outside world and I felt bitter, that's very nice. Now what? So I overcame it, I felt the bitterness, I let go. Now what? I need another little step over here. The other little step is, I got to ask myself, what do you want? What do you really want in life? And I'll say, you know what? I just want $50 million. I don't know. I want to be married. I want to have children. And ask yourself a question. When you have that, how will you feel? You know what you'll discover?
The same.
Well, not the same. I'll feel happy. Break it down. I'll feel relaxed. I'll feel accomplished. I'll feel secure, respected, whatever it is. And now, take a look and ask yourself a question. Do you ever have any of that feeling now? Do you feel it now? Because if you want to get to light, the way to get to a lot of light is by finding a little bit of light now. You'll never, feeling resentful now is a good way to say, I'm going to take the poison and hoping the other guy dies. It doesn't work. I need to put myself in a space of absolute joy. So it's not just blocking the outside world, it's blocking the outside world and then inside building absolute and total light. Because you're right, exactly. When you get to whatever you get to, what are you going to discover? That you actually have it already now. But in order to realize that, you have to go through the process and say, where do I want to be? And when I have that, how will I feel? When I get married, how will I feel? Do you ever feel any of that now? Because if you do, and you allow yourself to live in that light, you'll see more of that everywhere. And you will attract. That's called Gershon. Why? Because Gershon means to be able to kick out all the negativity. David HaMelech says, LeDavid b'shanoisa is ta'amoi lifnei Avimelech v'yegarshehu v'yelach. The simple meaning of that verse is that he feigned insanity in front of King Avimelech, who was the king of the Plishtim, and he kicked him out because he let him go. The deeper meaning of that is, b'shanoisa is ta'amoi, when you change your taste and your quality, you change your space, before Avimelech is my father, my king. That's Hashem. If I can change my space, instead of being negative, I can change the time, the taste, and feel, wow. Then all the negativity disappears. It's so counterintuitive because we think the more I try, the more I'm going to get. And if I'm not going to try, I'm not going to get. True. But before you do, instead of thinking you don't have it, think of how much you do have. Yes, if you say, I am wealthy, and you feel it, the more you feel it, the more wealth you'll attract. The more you say, I don't have, I need, the more of that you'll attract. And that's why, what does Gershon carry? Tapestries. Because you want to build a cover around the space. It's almost like a skeleton of bones. And on top of that, you put the skin. And you put the body and the blood. So what I want to do is put myself in a position, okay, when you influence me, I notice, whoo, I just got bitter. Whew, block. And now what? Replace it with light. And that gets rid of all the negativity. It's interesting, right? That the word, there's sometimes called Moshe's son, his name was Gershom with a mem. Levi's son was Gershon with a nun. And each one has its own unique qualities. But Gershon means Vav is to bring Hashem down, right? And Nun, all the way down. If you want Hashem's presence to be felt all the way in your life, and for the negativity to be ousted completely, what you want to do is put yourself in this joy. Because the more joyous you feel, and the more you in His light, like Hashem loves me. You know that in davening, we do this process. In davening, we have Sukkah de Zimra, where we talk about Hashem's greatness. Hashem's taking care of me. Hashem does this. Hashem creates that. All that process, it's critical to go through it. Because what you're seeing is, wow, Hashem is taking care of me all the time. So notice every negative feeling and let it go. Because Hashem's taking care of me. Then you get in Birkas Krishma to this piece which says, Ahavat olam ahavtanu Hashem Elokeinu. And you want to sit there and just like, let that marinate. Hashem loves me. Say, Hashem doesn't love me. I need this money. I don't have the money. Do the opposite. Realize how you have it, how Hashem loves you, what you want, you have. And the more you realize that, the more you'll have. That's why the tapestries in the Mishka, by the way, were not just one species. There were 6. Oires, Elim, Adomim, Troshim, all that. Because there's 6 emotions that we have. What you want to do is go through each emotion of yours and feel that you have it already. Security, I got it. You have... You want a feeling of friendship, love, you have it. You want a feeling of accomplishment, achievement, you have it. All the things you want, notice how you have them and you'll have more of that. Once you've done this, you're ready for step 3. To reveal it to the world. You want to go out and reveal it in the entire world. And that means I want to spread the love all around me. The other day I was deleting old emails and I found an email of a story. I once mentioned the story actually. But it was a year ago or something. And this guy was a little upset at me. And he texted, called, left voicemail, emailed, WhatsApped, every option that he could. And he used expletives that were not very pleasant. So most of them I deleted. Then I opened up the email and I discovered they were still there. And my response was initially I got angry again. And I was going to respond to him by email, something just like stech him back. And I thought to myself, what would you gain by doing that? Instead of allowing this resentment to fester, to stay there, just why don't you think good about it? I'm not saying anything to him, but just think positive about it. Because my goal is to spread the love, spread the goodness all around. I'm just going to spread love all over. If I'm in the light, if I got rid of my negative feelings, then I don't need to stech you in order to get, right, to not feel tense. I'm feeling good already now. And then if I put myself in the light of feeling I have all the things I have, now I'm going to go out and help you. So if I want $50 million, the way to get my $50 million is not by staying home and doing nothing. It's by going out and helping the world. I'm going to help people out there. I'm going to do good things in the world. And those good things are going to bring goodness out to the world. Oh, you want an opportunity to bring money? Here's an opportunity to give money. I'm going to share the light with the world. What is the mission of Kehos? Kehos takes the Oren HaKodesh, the light of Hashem of the Torah. He takes the Luchos inside there. He takes the Shulchan and the Menorah and he lights up the world. The Menorah is to light up the world. The Shulchan is to show how Hashem can change everything in the world, right? Because all the bread, which would change everything miraculously, it's to change the world. We are not people who are meant to stay home and do nothing. Hashem created us to go out and make a change and transformation in the world. And as long as I operate with my 3 levels, so let's summarize what we've learned. There's a desert. The desert is a difficult place. It's your life. Very challenging. Did you notice, by the way, in life, there's an algorithm. When you wake up in the morning, the algorithm says, scan for problems. What's wrong? You say, I know something's wrong. Yep, that. And before you know it, the algorithm says, oh, so let's get upset and depressed. And also that went wrong and this and this and this and this and this. And before you know it, you're in a negative space within minutes of waking up. The algorithm is the midbar, the desert. Don't let the algorithm take you over. Go the opposite direction. I'm here to light up the midbar, to light up the desert. Why? Because everything is God. What I want to do is take my Gershon Pios and Merari. Hey Merari, you feel the bitterness out there? I feel all the bitterness of what happens in the world. Yeah, I let go. Great. Put the beams up. Now I'm protected. Now I'm going to think, what do I actually want to achieve? And I'm going to feel this light. Wow, it's so glorious. That kicks all the negativity out. That's Gershon. Carrying the covers. All the feelings I want, of the 6 feelings that I have them already. Once I have that, I go into the next step, which is Kehos. I'm going to transform that and light up the world. I'm going to reveal that in the entire world out there. I'm going to go to everyone and light them up because I feel light. And if I feel light, you can also feel light. And when I do, the world around me changes. So I do my Psukkah de Zimra, thinking about how Hashem is taking care of everything. I think I get to Ava Soil and I realize how Hashem is absolutely, wow, there's just so much love in my life. And then I finish davening and I go bring Torah and mitzvahs out into the world. Because I discover that the world is a godly place. And then I realized the most amazing thing in the world, that there never was a problem in the first place. The world was always godly. And my mission was only to discover that and unpack that into the world.